Hi everyone, today we're going to study how to rationalize the denominator. Rationalizing the denominator is the process of converting a fraction with a radical in the denominator to an equivalent fraction whose denominator is an integer. Let's have example 1. Rationalize the fraction 3 over the square root of 6x. In here, we're going to use the property when we have the nth root of a and this radical is squared. This is simplified into a. So let's go to our problem here. The step is we're going to multiply this by a value equal to 1. So we know that any number multiplied by 1 will not change the value of the original expression. The next is, we're going to show that this one is a fraction. Please remember that our goal here is to remove this radical in this denominator. So there is a clue that we will multiply the square root by itself. It means in this denominator, we're going to use that same value of the square root of 6x. And for the numerator, we're going to copy that same denominator. So this is square root of 6x over the square root of 6x is a value that is equal to 1. Then let us proceed. We're going to multiply this 3 by this square root of 6x. We'll just combine them here. And multiplying this square root of 6x by itself, we will get this value, the square of this quantity, square root of 6x. And then on the next step, we can now use the idea of this property. We can now cancel that square root and the power 2. So this is now 6x in the denominator. In the numerator, we'll just copy that same value, 3 square root of 6x. But we can see here that the numbers 3 and the 6 can still be simplified. We can cancel the 3 and the 6. So the 3 becomes 1, the 6 becomes 2. So in the denominator, it becomes 2x. In the numerator, it is 1, but that number 1, we will not write it anymore. So only the square root of 6x comes here. So our final answer, the square root of 6x over 2x. Let's have example 2. Rationalize the fraction 5 over the binomial 2 minus the square root of 3. So for this binomial, our aim is to remove the radical in the denominator. We're going to use the product of conjugate pattern. What does it mean? When we have the x plus y multiplied by the x minus y, these two binomials here are conjugate of one another. To explain further, the conjugate of x plus y is the x minus y and vice versa. And this is one of our special product that when we multiply, the answer will be the square of the first term, then minus the square of the second term. So let us proceed with our solution. Our first step is to show that we are going to multiply this fraction by a value equal to 1. And this value equal to 1 is a fraction. And then we're going to think of our numerator and denominator here. For the denominator, we're going to multiply this value by its conjugate. We simply copy that same first term 2, we copy that second term, the square root of 3, but the minus here, we're going to put the opposite sign, plus. In some problems, it may happen that this is positive, so you must write negative. The next is the numerator. We'll just simply copy the conjugate value. So when this numerator and denominator are equal, this value is equal to 1. So it's not changing the value of our original fraction. The next is, we're going to multiply now the numerator by numerator, denominator by denominator. In the numerator, the number 5 is multiplied to the binomial. We'll just put them together. The 5 times the 2 plus the square root of 3. In the denominator, we're going to apply now our special product. So the first term 2 is now copied and then raised to 2. Then minus. The square root of 3 is copied and also raised to 2. In the next line, we're going to simplify our denominator. So it means the numerator we simply copy here. In the denominator, the 2 square becomes 4 and then minus. The radical will be cancelled along with that power 2. Only the radicand 3 will come down here. So this is 4 minus 3. So when we simplify further, the 4 minus 3 becomes 1. And the same denominator is here. And for the final answer, we simply remove that denominator 1. So this is our final answer. Example 3. Rationalize square root of x plus square root of 7 all over square root of x minus square root of 7. In our rule, we're going to multiply this fraction by a fraction whose numerator and denominator is the conjugate of the denominator of the original problem. So we see that our denominator is square root of x minus square root of 7. And the conjugate is square root of x plus square root of 7. And this value of conjugate we copy in the numerator. Now we multiply the fractions. Numerator multiplied to numerator, denominator times denominator. In the numerator, we simply combine the two numerators. They are equal actually, and we can write this in exponent. So we have the square of x plus square root of 7. In the denominator, we apply our special product. The first term is the square root of x minus the second term, the square root of 7. Then we simplify the denominator. We cancel the radical and the power 2. Then we simplify further the denominator, and that is x minus 7. And in the numerator, we simply copy the same value. This is now the final answer.